All right, welcome everybody to Learn to Make Clay Earrings. My name is Dana. I am the editor of Fave Crafts and I will be emceeing today's class. Fave Crafts is a website that shares free craft tutorials from all over the internet. And we have a variety of free email newsletters broken down by interest, like general crafts, recycled crafts, etc. You can sign up for any of our free newsletters at favecrafts.com. We are recording today's class, so you will get a copy of that recording tomorrow, so you can keep an eye on your email from a Fave Crafts email coming from Zoom. So about 24 hours, you'll see that recording. Use the Q&A feature or the chat to ask questions. Sometimes the chat moves a little quickly, so we might not get everything, but either place we're going to be keeping an eye on. So you can ask your questions and hopefully get all of your questions answered throughout the class. Today's class is sponsored by Sculpey. So Sculpey has a brand of clay for every project and skill level. Today we will be using Sculpey Premo clay, which is perfect for making jewelry due to its strength and flexibility. It has a smooth texture and comes in a variety of colors, so you can mix and match to create unique pieces, like the earrings we'll be making today. Sculpey.com has thousands of tutorials to help you create anything from sculptures, home decor, holiday decorations, jewelry, and so much more. Right now, they are giving our class a 20% off coupon code to Sculpey.com, and it's valid through June 30th, so that you can order some supplies and keep the creativity going after the class. You'll use the code FAVECLASS20, and I'll drop that code in the chat, and you'll get it in the recap email as well tomorrow. And I'll introduce our instructor today. Rebecca George is a craft and sewing writer, as well as the owner of Chicago-based accessories line Purple and Lime. Originally a Cincinnati native, she studied art history and geology at the University of Michigan. From there, Rebecca earned another degree in fashion design and marketing from AIU in London, England. While living in the UK, several pieces from her graduation collection were featured in the fashion magazine ID. She also participated in the first ever Cincinnati Fashion Week in 2010. A few years after moving to Chicago, she started her own fashion business. Originally focusing on women's wear, Rebecca now primarily creates acrylic jewelry and holiday ornaments. In addition, since 2013, she has been a contributor to many of Prime Publishing's blogs, including Fave Crafts and All Free Sewing. In her spare time, Rebecca enjoys gardening and volunteering in her community. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Rebecca, and welcome to Jennifer. Jennifer is here from Sculpey. I should have said that earlier in the introduction. So welcome, and I hope everyone enjoys today's class.
Wonderful. Hello. So thank you for having me. We are, can everybody hear me okay?
You sound great.
We good? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for having me today. And I want to thank our sponsor, Sculpey, and of course, Fave Crafts for having me. I'm really excited to show you how to make two kinds of fun desert-inspired earrings from oven-safe Sculpey Premo polymer clay and metal jewelry findings. Handmade chain tassel details at the bottom add a nice movement. And we will also learn how to marble polymer clay for a variety of effects. I will demonstrate both a single and a double clay earring style, so you can learn how to make both. Before going through the steps to create these pairs of earrings, here are the supplies you'll need. So if everybody can see my screen here, I'm going to go through all the different materials we're going to use. Perfect. All right. So we are using, as I mentioned, Sculpey Premo polymer clay in 6 different colors. So the colors we're going to be using today to create these 2 pairs of earrings here include the following 6 colors: copper, lavender, light pink, terracotta, turquoise. You can tell that's my favorite. I used most of it. And the yellow gold glitter. You'll also need a Sculpey oven-safe work mat. You can use this for working and for baking. An 8-inch acrylic clay roller, also by Sculpey. Sculpey Stainless Steel Shape Cutters, and we're using the medium sizes of 3 different shapes. So you have the circle, the irregular rectangle, and the oval, and they come in a multi-pack. So these are like the medium sizes. So I picked 3 similar sizes to make these pairs of earrings. You will also need earring findings, like earring hooks, jump rings, all the components you need to put together your jewelry after you bake your clay. A metal rod or a toothpick for poking holes. I prefer the rod, but if you don't have one, a toothpick will work as well. An oven-safe baking dish, jewelry pliers and clippers to cut your chain and to close your jump rings, a ruler or measuring tape, an oven thermometer, and this is important to ensure your oven that you're baking in is at the correct temperature, which should be 275. We're going to go over that a little later. A jump ring closing tool, and baby wipes, which are optional, but they're really good for cleaning your hands in between clay colors, so you don't get a darker clay color on a lighter color. Okay, so let's get started. And for this project, I am going to be working with about half of each pack of clay. So I'm going to move this aside. So the exact amount of clay you're going to use will depend on how many pairs of earrings you're going to make, but I like to make a bunch and then select from what I have made there. All right, so okay, so here is my Sculpey work mat. This is an older one. It's a little lighter in color so we can see better. So you're going to take each pack of clay and open them all, obviously take the plastic off. And so I'm using a little bit less of the yellow gold glitter because I'm using that as an accent color for this. Great. So the exact colors you pick or choose to focus on is totally up to you. If you want more of a color to be visible, like if you like more of the turquoise, add more of that, or less of another color. Okay, great. So I'm going to go through 14 different steps, and I'm going to start by conditioning the clay. So you're going to take your clay and break it into smaller bits. You're going to condition each clay by rubbing it in between your hands until it gets softer. And this can take a little while depending on the temperature in your room, what kind of clay you're using, etc. It's ready when the clay is pretty easy to manipulate and to pull apart, as you can see here. Okay, so I did that I pre-prepared all of my different colors here and then rolled it into these balls. Okay, so all 6 colors, I did a little bit less of the yellow gold glitter. All right, so moving on, for step 2, you're going to divide each clay ball into smaller pieces and you're going to roll them into tube shapes here. So you're going to take your ball of clay. You are going to soften it, make sure it's still soft. Yeah, do we have a question?
I was just going to say your hands are a little bit out of the shot to the left. Oh, that's perfect.
Okay, so you're going to take the ball of clay and then you're going to roll each one on your work mat into long tubes. So the tubes don't have to be perfect. They can be anywhere from about 3 to 5 inches long, and then make several of each of your colors. Okay, so we have 2 of each of the colors here. So after you have them all made into these tubes here, you are going to move on to step 3, and you're going to divide them all into sets. So the sets are going to have all 6 colors in a group. Okay. So now, before we go on and cut out the shapes, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to marble your clay. Okay, so style A, as I call it, is the simplest way, and that is literally just to take your long tubes of clay and to twist them around. And smush it together and twirl. And eventually, if your hands are a little warmer than mine, it will mix together and then become a ball. And then you'll get a nice swirl effect like this. Okay, so that's the first style. So that's style A, just a simple swirl mixture. Style B is more of a terrazzo style. So you want to take one large base color. So you want to take one ball or tube and press it into a small sheet, about a 1/4 inch thick. And then using your roller, your hands, make sure it's flat. And you want to add on little teeny tiny bits of clay. Can everybody see? You're just making little tiny little bits on here. And then you're going to mix this up. So you get like thicker areas of color, but not as many swirls. So it's more of a terrazzo style. So once you mix it, you'll see you have larger areas of color. Okay, and then the third way, which I call style C, is literally just using all the scraps from when we cut out in a little bit, when we cut out our clay. So I always like to keep the little clay bits and reuse them so I don't waste anything. So for the third style, I use all of my remainders, and it makes like a really, really extra swirled pattern, and you can even make some new colors with it, which is really cool. A lot of color mixing. Okay, great. Do we have any questions before we move on to pressing and flattening the clay?
I don't have any so far.
Okay, great. All right, so it's totally up to you, which of those 3 styles you want to do in order to marble your clay. It just matters that you mix the clay really well and that it doesn't have, lines and bubbles in it. So once you have your balls of clay mixed together, if you haven't flattened them already, you want to kind of soften it into a flat shape. And then you can use your very handy Sculpey acrylic roller, and you can press it down to flatten it. And this gives a really nice uniform finish too. It gives a little nice shine that looks really nice on the pieces. So I like to flip them over and go back and forth a couple times. So if you're not happy with the pattern that comes out, mix the clay up again and you can make a new one. So do this with as many balls of clay as you would like to make. I like to have a lot of variety, and then you can cut a bunch out and then see what you want to work with from there. All right. So like I said, after the marbling is complete, you want to roll out your clay balls into sheets using your roller. You can also use like a glass or something, although I don't recommend using something wooden or porous that you're going to be using again for food. So once you roll it out in approximately about an 1/8 inch thickness, then we will be ready to use our shape cutters and to cut out the different shapes. So for this, these 2 pairs of earrings, we're using 3 different shapes. You can switch them. You don't have to use them necessarily in the exact order I did them, but I'll show you that. Okay, so on to step 6, and we are going to be cutting out our shapes. So you are going to be using these 3 stainless steel cutters, as I showed you before. And these are the medium sizes. And for this class, we're using the circle, the irregular, rectangle, and the oval in the medium sizes. You want to press firmly and evenly when you cut out to get the best result. The circle is the easiest because you can kind of twist it around, but these ones you can't twist around because the shapes are irregular. So you want to press very firmly and evenly for the best result. And I like to make a couple that are close to each other to get similar looks. And then, like I said before, save the excess clay and then we will reuse that. So we are going to make some shapes here. You want to press down firmly with your cutter and be sure you use the side that's not the sharp end. It has a little guard on the top. That's the top part you want to press down with. So you want to make several of each shape. And the circle, like I said, is nice because you can just do that and pop them right out. Sometimes they come out, other times you have to peel the clay off. Right, so as you can see, we use these shape cutters and they're really, really easy. And then you can just peel away the excess. Okay, so like I said, do this with as much clay as you'd like to experiment with. And I always like to make extra because sometimes you might get some where the designs don't line up as nicely. You want to have options. Okay, I think we had a question.
Krista is asking, I'm just wondering if Sculpey Bake Shop is similar to souffle, or which clay is it do you think is closest in texture? I would love to use the discount code from the class to order some to try, but don't know what the difference is.
I can answer that. Do you want me to type it or verbal?
You can speak out loud
okay.
because yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah. So Bake Shop is actually a clay for kids. So it's a lot softer. And it's good for basic things like if kids are making figurines or little like Christmas ornaments or something like that. If you're going to make jewelry, then I would say either use souffle or primo. Souffle is a little bit lighter weight than primo, and it's got a faux suede finish when baked. So if you like that kind of faux suede finish, then I would go with souffle.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
And then
yes.
I do have one more question. Odette is asking, does the Sculpey clay dry up before baking?
No, so it will stay soft until you bake it. So if you want to start a project today and you can't get back to it for a couple of weeks, that's not a problem. You don't need to save it in an airtight container or anything. What we recommend is just covering it so like pet hair or dust or dirt doesn't get on it, but you do not need to protect it in any other way from air because it does not air dry at all until it goes in your home oven. Then once it's baked or cured, it becomes hard.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Great. And yes, I can confirm. I had some Sculpey clay that was almost like 8 years old and it was still good. And I was still able to use it. Although that's not what I'm using today, but it does last a really long time when it's not baked. Okay, so we are going to go on to step 7, and that is the step where we're going to make the holes in order to attach our jump rings and put our earrings together. Okay, so once you have all of your shapes cut out, and like I said, I like to do a lot of extra ones, so you can pick from those when you're done. You're going to make small holes on the top and the bottom of each piece. As you can see here, I've already poked the holes to show you, and I will show you how to do it on one that has not had them done. So I do them on the top and the bottom. I mean, they don't have to be perfect, but you want them generally in the same spot from piece to piece so they look nice together. Okay, so I like to press the holes, the first part of the hole when they're flat on the mat, and then I flip them over and go back down. Through both sides. And then if you have any like overhang or any little errors, you can correct it now. You want to make sure you take care of anything before you bake it because it's a lot easier to fix things before they're harder and cured. So as you can see here, the holes go through both sides. And I cleaned up the back a little bit. So you want to do that for all of your pieces. So they're all going to need 2 holes for both designs. The Sculpey pieces need 2 holes. So you want to do that for all 3 kinds of shapes. And then go back through the back. Okay, and after you bake them, if you have a little bit of extra clay in there, you can clean them up with a toothpick. That worked really well. And before you put them on your baking surface, you want to go around and make sure you smooth anything, like the back. When you press, can get a tiny bit of a ridge around it. You want to make sure it's really smooth. Okay. And then once you've done that for all of your pieces, you are going to place them on your baking dish. Now I am doing mine on a ceramic dish. You can bake on the mat. My dish is just small and the mat didn't fit on it. So I like to place them a little distance apart from each other so they don't stick together. Okay. So like I said, you want to double check the pieces for any errors or air holes before you bake. So if you do have an air hole, of course I can't find one now. If you do have an air hole, you want to tap it out and get rid of it. Otherwise, it might look a little funny after you bake them. All right, so I am going to virtually bake the clay. Obviously, we have a limited amount of time, so I can't show you the entire process in real time. So I pre-prepared the clay pieces. You are going to bake the Sculpey pieces on an oven-safe dish in a well-ventilated room, and you can bake the pieces on or off the oven-safe work mat. It's recommended to bake Sculpey Premo clay at approximately 275 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes per 1/4 inch thickness. So this could vary depending on your oven and clay warmth. That's why I recommended the oven thermometer to be sure the temperature is at 275. I like to check mine about every 3 to 5 minutes or so without opening the oven if possible. So if you have a light, use that. These pieces in this thickness and size, they took me about 15 to 17 minutes to fully bake. Keep an eye on the clay in the oven at all times and carefully remove them when they're finished, and only do the step under an adult's supervision. I generally take them out when it's been about the amount of time that takes them to get hard. You don't want them to overbake and burn, and you don't want them to underbake and be too soft. So I like to make sure that they're almost really firm before I take them out of the oven. Did we have any questions? Oh, I think somebody asked. Yes.
Sandy just said, I was going to ask the same thing. How do you know when they are done baking? Can you tell just by looking at them?
Yeah, when you do it for a longer time, you kind of know. Although yesterday when I was preparing some of these for this class, I did have to pop a couple more back in the oven that I didn't bake as long. They were just a little bit too soft. So you can always bake them a little longer, but you can't take it back if you bake too long. Although I will say I've never had anything burn, but it's better to do a little less, and then you can put them in for longer if they're too soft. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Do we want to take a quick break now, and then the second part will be assembling?
Yeah, that sounds great. All right. So I am going to go ahead and talk about our upcoming classes and mention a special offer from our digital magazines during this intermission. So if folks want to get up, run, use the restroom, whatever you prefer, grab a glass of water. I will be doing this intermission. So we've got one class on the docket right now that you can sign up for. If there's any knitters that happen to be in the audience today, Brioche Simplified is a new class where doing with the Hands-On Knitting Center. They're based in California, so if any Californians are attending today, they're local to you. And that class is on Tuesday, July 11th, so in 2 weeks at 11 a.m. We also will have a class on Tuesday, July 18th that we just finalized yesterday. You can't sign up yet, but it's a vintage shell stitch crochet class. So if that sounds interesting, just have that date, July 18th, in the back of your mind. We'll get those registration pages up here shortly. And then for everybody who attends any of our Fave Craft Studio live classes, we love to give this special offer, which is for the I Like Knitting, I Like Crochet, or We Like Sewing magazine. New subscribers can get an annual subscription for just $5 US. And that includes 6 digital issues that get released throughout the year, as well as access to all of the previously published patterns. So if there happen to be any sewers, knitters, crocheters in the audience today who are interested in a magazine that has professionally tech edited patterns, it's ads free, and again, you get access to every pattern that's ever been published. So some of those date back to 2014. You can get that offer by going to either of those websites, and then the code is virtual23, and I'll drop those links in the chat as well. All right, I am going to turn it back over to Rebecca. Rebecca, I just realized you're on mute on both cameras.
Apologies. Sorry, my dog was barking, so I muted it for a second. Okay, so we are gonna go over how to assemble the earrings now. So once you have baked your beautiful Sculpey clay pieces, as you can see here, I made many pairs. After you bake all of these, let them fully dry. The pieces dry very quickly, so it should only take 5-10 minutes, but let them completely dry and cool down. And then we are going to assemble. So like I showed you before, we have 2 different styles of earring. We have one that has the circle and the oval before the chain tassel. And then we have the other that has the irregular rectangle before the chain tassel. So I'm going to start with the single earring, as I called it, and then we will go on and I'll show you how to make the double earring. So you can do these with any kind of metal you like. It's up to you what kind of finish you want. You can mix and match metals. Oh, I see a question about spraying the clay. You can, and Jennifer, isn't there's a coating product now? Am I correct?
We have Sculpey glazes in both glossy and matte finish as well.
Cool. Okay. Okay. I am gonna answer this question and then I will go on. So I got small chain from one of the jewelry suppliers that jewelry suppliers that I order from. So if you want, I can give you some specific names afterwards. So you can find thin chain in a variety of finishes. I went with silver and gold today. So we are going to start by doing the single pendant earring, and I'm putting these on silver earring hooks, and this one is already partially done. So as you can see here, I made them face the opposite way, but if you prefer, they can go the same way. You can mix and match and do circle with the rectangle shape. It's totally up to you. So I am using a pair of pliers and a jump ring and a jump ring tool for opening and closing. So you want to start with open jump rings and an earring hook. And you want to make sure you have a decent hole back here. So like I mentioned, if the hole closed up a little bit, open it up again with a toothpick or a metal rod. So I am simply, should be simple, I am just going to put the jump ring right through the top hole here. And then I am going to close it. So as you can see here, now we have the top parts of the earring. And now we have to make the tassel. So the tassels are the same idea for both. It's just they're a little bit shorter for the double earring because this takes up more room with the 2 pieces of clay. So the single tassel earrings or the chain tassels are a tiny bit longer. And you don't have to measure the chain, like it doesn't have to be perfect. I literally just cut random pieces of chain using wire clippers, jewelry clippers, and a length of chain. I literally just cut approximately the same size, but I didn't measure them. But if you want them to be perfect, you can measure them. I literally just cut lengths of chain to dangle. So I did 5 for each earring. So you'll do 10 for each pair. So once you have 10 of those, then you want to assemble your chains. So you want to take a jump ring, an empty jump ring. You want to start placing your chains on there. And take your time doing this because the holes are small and the chains are pretty small. You can also do like a chunkier or coated colored chain would be really pretty with this too. So I am going to put 5 on each open jump ring here. So there's 3. 1. And you can always cut them and shorten the chains later. Like I said before, you can always take more off, but you can't add more on. So you have 5 chains of various lengths on here, but you don't want to close your jump ring. So if you want to do them and attach them right away, that's fine, or do them and set them aside. You just don't want all the chain coming off. So here I have my other one. This one has 3, so I need 2 more. And if you really want them to be perfectly matching, you can hold them up together, or you could cut them together at the same time so they'll be exact. I think it's a little more fun when it's uneven, but it's totally up to you. Okay, so we now have our 2 chain tassel danglies, and you are simply going to take the bottom hole of your clay pendant and put the jump ring through. So hold it securely so it doesn't fall and all the chains go everywhere. Okay. So you're just going to close it and make sure it's secure, and you can hide the openings of the jump rings if you don't want them visible. You can push them down into the clay. So there's 1 earring complete. So for the next one, you're going to do the same thing to complete the pair. Great, and then we'll hide that. So it looks a lot more complicated than it is. I think they're pretty easy, but they look really beautiful. In order to make the double, so with the 2 clay pieces, it's the same concept. You're going to start with the jump ring at the top and the earring hook. But instead of putting the chain tassel directly on the bottom of the first piece, you're going to attach a second piece. So you want to make sure your jump ring is big enough that it can go through both pieces here and still have a little bit of flexibility because you don't want them to be too tight. You want it to have a lot of movement. That makes these earrings really fun. So I'm going to first attach it to my earring hook. And this gold is a little softer, so I can close them with my hand. Okay, so that's the first pendant. And then we are going to attach the second pendant. It's the same concept as attaching the jump rings. Just take your time. And then I'm going to make sure it's closed and really secure so the two pieces stay together. And then for the tassel, it's the same concept as the other pair we did. I am taking small lengths of chain again. So there's 4 on here. I'm going to add 1 more. So I did 5. If you want them even fuller, you can literally add as much chain as you like. And then, just like we did before, that's why we leave the ring open. It's going to go through the bottom here. Make sure you close it. And there is our beautiful earring. So you can mix and match these. You can do both kinds of metal. I think that'd look really cool. And you can mix and match the shapes too if you want. Oh, thank you. Did we have any other questions about assembling the chains?
Yeah, we've got 2 good questions. Natalie is asking, what size are the jump rings that you were using?
Oh, I don't know exactly off the top of my head. I can include that and have it sent out later. I believe they're probably about 18, but don't quote me on that. I used a larger one to make sure it could go through the clay and everything. Apologies, I don't know the exact measurement.
Sandy is saying she's never seen that tool on your finger and she loves it.
Thank you. It's a jump ring closing tool, and you can get these from jewelry supply companies, and I really like it. This one has been very well used, as you can see. And they're really nice because you have different sizes, so it's good for closing different thicknesses of rings, and it can help you from, hurting yourself when you're closing things that are hard.
I mean, these earrings are so stunning. And I think it's great with like craft fairs, coming up. People are already starting to look into Christmas gift shopping, etc. And you get so many earrings with, just a few blocks of clay. It's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, I could literally make like 10 pairs, maybe more, with just what I have here. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty cost-effective craft, which I like.
And Jennifer, I have a question. Does Sculpey sell any jewelry, like the findings, like the earring hooks and the chain, or any other accessories?
No, we don't, not at this time. Just the clay and different types of tools.
Okay, great.
Their tools are really great, though. I will recommend them. And I can't wear earrings because my my hole's closed up, so I'm actually wearing a necklace I made. I just put 1 hole on this pendant and made a really cute little necklace.
Oh, here, let me spotlight you so that folks can see your lovely necklace. Aww. Very nice.
Thank you. And I love it. It's really lightweight. Sculpey is so easy to wear and just so beautiful. And I always get compliments when I wear them.
Great. Let's see. Okay, we got one more question. Krista's asking, do you know if, Jennifer, this is a question for you. Do you know if Souffle will be coming to Canada in individual blocks?
I do not, but I can put the Canadian distributors info in the chat if she wants to check with them.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Let me find it real quick.
Krista says, yes, please. And Sandy's just double checking. Souffle, is souffle even lighter weight than Premo?
Correct. So souffle is a lighter weight clay than Premo, but both are great for jewelry.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. We don't have any other questions at this time. So I think at this point we're probably all set. I'll go ahead and share my screen one last time so that everybody can see our contact info, etc. So let me just move this. So, well, thank you again so much to Rebecca and to Jennifer for today's class. So my name is Dana, as I've mentioned. You can email me at dneald@primecp.com if you have any questions specifically about Fave Craft Studio Live classes, upcoming classes. You'll be getting the recording, for example. That's a question I get a lot. So you'll get that recording tomorrow in about 24 hours. If you don't already follow Rebecca on social media, her handles are Purple and Lime Fashion at Facebook. And you can go to our website, which is purpleandlime.com, to learn more about the beautiful projects that she makes. And then once again, thank you so much to Sculpey. If you go to sculpey.com, you can use the code FAVEClass20 now through June 30th to get 20% off your order. So hopefully you are very inspired after today's class and you love the new clay colors and you check them out. So, all right. I think that is everything. Oh, you know what? Krista has one last question before we go. She says, do you have any techniques on keeping the backs flat and smooth?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say working on the Sculpey mat really helps because it has a really nice smooth finish. Sometimes the finish can get a little rougher, you know, when you're flattening things out with your fingers. So after you smooth it out, you can always press it lightly again on your work surface if you want to get a little bit of the shine back. Hope that helps.
Okay, fantastic. Right, with that, I'll let everybody go. Thank you again so much for today's class, and until next time.
Thank you.
Farewell.